at you again with some good knowledge, wisdom, understanding, overstanding, great information, uh, data for the soul. Um, this stuff that I'm into is all soul stuff because how I got into it, I followed something. I don't know. I just followed things. I followed, you know, uh, pushes and get this book and read that and just continuing on and being empowered by certain visions that I've had and dreams that I've had, and then asking questions to these intelligences, if I may call this, that, or the third, them, whatever. Uh, a higher self, whatever. Um, I ask questions, and then these questions are answered. Like for instance, I would answer questions about my dreams. I would answer questions about how dreams are made. Okay, for instance, I had an amazing dream, and then I would ask, well, how is it possible? What are the mechanics of creating a dream? This dream world, this dream stage, this display of images that are similar to my waking consciousness existence, except it's extremely different into you can't even put it in words other than the definition of a dream. But what the hell, I don't know. Anyway, you ask these questions are answered. You see what I'm saying? These questions are answered, especially if you're looking for the answer. But these questions are answered even if you're not looking for them, because you look forward to them being answered, because you just believe that what you ask it will be given to you. And amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. And then I find out when I read Carl Jung's works, this is after all this shit that I've been finding out about what's going on with me and my soul, and and my wife as well. The word synchronicity. I couldn't believe that Carl Jung, according to what I've heard, penned or coined the term synchronicity. I find it extremely strange. And then I read on works of. I've read many things in between, but later on in life, I've read on works of Henry Corbin, who knows a lot about the works of Ibn Arabi. All right, and I have been blown away, and as well as Suwardi, I believe that's how you say his name. I'm sorry. He died at a very young age. They call him a martyr. This is dealing with Sufi knowledge, right? And the Sufi knowledge, it seems to me, is amazing, because Sufi knowledge is like, I don't even know how to explain it, because I read on the Sufi knowledge, the Sufi knowledge pre-Islamic, if I may say, and I'm amazed at the mysticism of it. I don't know how to explain it. That's a book, The Sufi Path of Knowledge, Ibn Arabi's Metaphysics of Imagination. But these things are amazing. See, the thing about Henry Corbin getting into Ibn Arabi's works and then dealing with the imagination and then going into Suhrawardi's works, it's just so much. Avicenna, I think his name is Ibn Sina, I think. Avicenna, it's just so much, man. I've been on an amazing journey. Been going through a lot of hell in life. Been going through a lot of hell. And when I read certain things like what I'm about to read and show you right now and explain a little bit, you get what's called epiphanies and aha moments. These things are just, they touch your soul. They touch your heart. And one of the most amazing things about Henry Corbin's works is he speaks about, especially in The Man of Light, he speaks about the organ of the heart. And we're not talking about the actual physical heart. Maybe that being the reflection, right? In the material form. But we're talking about your spiritual heart, your spirit. Right? So we're dealing with this. Where we at right now. We are spiritual beings in a physical body. And I read this part in the book called Avicenna and the Visionary Recital. All right? Which I believe is by Henry Corbin. Let me see. Yes, Henry Corbin. All right, and it's very, 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 very beautiful, very, very amazing, very eye-opening, very synchronistic to my life, to anybody's life when they understand who they are as a uh, as a monad, really. You know what I mean? And see, the problem with it is this is why I'm trying to give out the information. This is why I don't get no views and shit, because this is deep knowledge. The monad, which is a spark of what they call a godhead in theosophy. Let me see if there's another name for it. Ami. Let me see. Here we go. Amitabha, right? Amitabha comes from Pure Land Buddhism, and deals with infinite light, right? And us being sparks of that infinite light. Little, you know what I'm saying? Like on the real, being sparks of that infinite light. And going into theosophy, which uses all of this stuff, right? These are images of representations, and if people get this mixed up with Buddha and things like that, Krishna, even, you know. But this is none other than, like, look at this image right here, right? This is Amitabha, all right, of the Pure Land Buddhism sect. And then you look at this, and you look on the right, you look on the left, and you see a different color, different shades. And then in the center, you have this here. What you have right here looks like an eye on the side, or the symbol of Vesica Pisces. But it's also a symbol of a particular cone type image. It's a lot of shit going on we ain't going to explain right now. But this would be Ida, this would be Pingala, this would be Sushumna. This would be Jacquem, this would be Boaz. You see what I'm saying? The Kabbalah. Well, I'm telling you right now that this is another aspect of the Kabbalah. All right? It's I mean, you know, you might say it's a bunch of bullshit, but I'm telling you that after doing mad research, yo, it is. But back to this. This is the Cosmic Crypt from the book Abyssinian the Visionary Recital. When I read this, think about Osiris, all right? Think about the Christ, right? Think about the Christ, the hidden awakening consciousness within your soul in the here and now of the age of Aquarius is waking up. All right, there's a book called the Ma'at Text that I have read in the past, but I'm going back to read again. Still blowing me away, and it talks about these things. You know what I mean? But we're going to go back to this, because what happens is, like, there was a question that Bobby Hemmett said in one of his videos. Have you ever felt special? Have you ever been in a classroom and you just looked around and was like, you know, why am I here? What is this? What is the world? What is Earth? What the hell is this? You know, why do I blink? And, you know, this everything. You know, he wasn't saying all of that shit, but I built onto that. He was like, you know, raise your hand if you ever felt special. And literally everybody raised their hands, and then he'll say, everywhere I go, I ask that question, and just about everybody, if not everybody, raises their hands. You know what I'm saying? If the motherfucker that didn't raise their hand, they must have not even listened to the question. But everybody raises their hands. So everybody really feels that way. Everybody is special. You see what I'm saying? And the situation is that your connection to your speciality is being disconnected. All right? When you connect to it, you realize that, wait a minute, you're not just this body with the five senses and the physical flesh with the brain operating in the world. And if you don't have any money, you're broke. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any operation, but you're the spiritual entity that they harness to control, to build their exterior world, this demiurgic world. And it's continuing on till this day, just recycling souls. That's dealing with the Kabbalah, yes, the Kabbalah spirit of Yesud and the moon, but we ain't gonna get into that. Even because the moon and the money, the phrase "in God we trust" on the back of the dollar bill, the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill with the eye in it, and the 13 levels, it all connects. All right, the Mason, you know, the Freemason. That's what Masons do. Masons build walls. They build shit. You feel what I'm saying? They build corners. They build things. You feel me? You feel me? You know what I mean? So you have to understand that that's dealing with a lot of things. As like they call Jesus the carpenter. Joshua was a carpenter. They built things, and yet the Christ is the logos, right? The word is what builds the physical reality that you live in a vibratory state. Okay? When you come to realize these things in your surroundings, you feel like, something is up with the world. All right? Let me go ahead and read, though. If the recital of Hayy ibn Yaqzan appears to, we'll do that in another video, appears to us the one that should stand first in the cycle of recitals. The reason is that the initiations that it recites, and you haven't missed much, this is the beginning of the book basically, that it is to say, again, puts into the present, teaches the fundamental orientation. And that's my whole thing about this thing, the orientation, the obelisk. You know what I mean? As above, so below. There is a lower you, there is a higher you. And the higher you is always trying to connect to you because it has better things in plan for you at all times, in the moment. See, time does not exist, it's an illusion. The higher self, which has access to what is known as the moment or the now, which is a intangible, ongoing effect. Scientists will say it's been going on since the Big Bang, right? Every second, every millisecond, nanosecond that goes by, it cannot be grasped as we speak, right? It just goes on and on and on and on and on. That is the moment that we just living in the moment, right? Time is a fucking illusion. Well, this aspect of self has access to this, and it can connect to you, past, present, future, and now. Excuse me, and now. You see, so it expounds that in relation to which it first becomes meaningful to speak of an Occident and an Orient of the cosmos. Excuse me. The possibility of this orientation. He talks about where, by indicating a meaning, a direction that situates human existence, right? Think about all the niggas that say we was the, this and that, and this, or all the Aryans that say we the Aryans, we the first people of the world. All the the people of the North say we the ones who started the world. The people of the North and things like that. It's all mythology. It's all relating to eschatology and dealing with the soul and spirit. It's not literal. It's not the Asiatic man of the East, to the East, my brother. It's none of that. As a matter of fact, the Orient that is the East is actually the North. Why is it the North? When you read Henry Corbin's works, you realize that the North is symbolic, all right? And it is symbolic because there is no way you can grasp the actual true reality of reality. This is not the real reality. So everything in it is symbol of the real reality, of the real. And the northern hemisphere, or the light that we see up there, called the Aurora Borealis, all right, the Aurora Borealis, is in reference to your subtle body, all right. You as the body is a representation of the earth, okay, and this is your aura. This aura resides within you as well as these 7 chakras, okay. So you have a connection to it on a symbolic, spiritual, soul level. And it depends on your level of understanding that you have connection to your 7 planes of consciousness, which the Muslims and the Sufis would call the 7 prophets. All right? Jesus, Muhammad, Adam, Moses, I think Gabriel, and I forgot the couple, it's the rest of them, but he has that work. You see what I'm saying? So about the answer of the genesis of human existence. Here, the answer will simultaneously orient the soul in the meaning, the direction of its condition of stranger, and toward the necessity of an Oriental philosophy. Because you can always say where you from physically, you know what I mean, where you was born physically, but soul, you don't know nothing. All you know is you started existing when your memory started coming to you, and you just started remembering shit, your memory. You see what I'm saying? There's a saying actually that we are actually dead now, right? And we are actually living in our memories. We are actually living in the past life review. That's a whole nother conversation. And that's why we symbolize this life as some type of test and things like that. And then there's a judgment after that. There's a judgment. You know, a lot, it's just not a lot of talk about past life regression in the literal one leaving the body and not coming back. In near death experiences, people talk about it. You know what I mean? But when we completely leave the body, I'm not saying that it don't happen. I'm just saying that you don't hear about it. So that's something that we need to think about. Or you know, and then you thinking about deja vu and all this shit, right? Come on. So we gotta work on it because we living in the Matrix. Watch Matrix 1, 2, at least watch part 1. All right. Black woman, Sophia Stewart. She the one who created that. All right. We're dealing with Oriental philosophy. All right. The way of the soul. All right. The hymn of the soul, the Gnostic Acts of Thomas, is a key to it. All right. If the he just goes on and on and on to talk about this shit. You see what I'm saying? Let me see. The fact remains that the cosmogonic myth of all gnosis has nothing to do with any attempt at a pre-scientific explanation of the system of the universe. Okay? The cosmogonic or genonic, whatever how you want to say it, cosmogonic myth that returns with variants in all gnosis propounds an interpretatio mundi, that is, a mode of comprehension, a fundamental and initial interpretation that goes beyond and proceeds or precedes all external perceptions. Okay? Rather, this initial interpretation is what makes possible and orients all these perceptions, because it begins by situating the interpreter in the world that he interprets to himself. It is this interpretation that initially determines his experience of cosmic space. All right? Cosmic space. Here, the structure of space reveals the phenomenological analysis, a particular sense of the cosmos, which experiences this world, all right, as a crypt. All right? Above the earth, heaven curves like a dome, enclosing it, all right, giving it the safety of a habitation, but at the same time keeping it, as it were, in a prison. It is this sense of the cosmic crypt, hence the higher awakening consciousness of people talking about the flat earth, all right, the earth being flat and us being in a dome. Think about that shit, right? So it is this sense of the cosmic crypt that architecturally has found expression in the symbol of the dome. And this intuition of the world as a crypt differs as much from that which apprehends it as a distance offered in depth to passionate impulse, the endless space of the Faustian soul, as it differs from the antique intuition of the world as the sum of forms of corporal objects. All right. He goes on to talk about a lot of shit, man. Let's see here. To stimulate him to awaken to consciousness of his origin. That's what the elite do not want you to do. They want you to live in a one-world government under a one-world religion. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. It's very, very strange. Now think about the Babylonian Genesis, right? Think about it relates to the Sumerian Genesis as well. Now think about this. They found in the beginning 7 tablets. Now these 7 tablets connect to the Genesis of the Bible. And we have the tablets themselves represent 7 days of creation. Well, in the Bible, there's 7 days of creation. Do the 7 days of creation that were created by the authors of the Bible reference the Babylonian 7 tablets of the Babylonian Genesis, which is a cosmology, all right? The Babylonian cosmology projects the world as a structure of 7 stories, okay? And those 7 stories relate to your 7 chakras. They relate to the ladder of Jacob and everything else, man. You see what I'm saying? And when the tongues are being twisted, that means that the chakras and shit and your levels of consciousness can't relate to each other. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now, from Posidonius on the and under Oriental influences, the enthusiasm of an astral mysticism, compensating for the miseries of the terrestrial condition, had risen towards just such an edifice. On the other hand, an opposite feeling can keep the edifice intact, but make wholly different signs appear in it by projecting upon it the light of a wholly different interpretation. Instead of appearing as the supreme expression of the divinity, the regularity of the cosmos, that is, the ineluctable necessity governed by the course of the planets, will become an expression of the anti-divine. The planets, instead of concentrating the impulse of piety toward them, will impart a panic terror. This change in the sense of cosmic space will be motivated by the perception of a drama brought about in the pleroma of celestial beings. The catastrophe can be perceived as more or less radical as one passes from the Mazdean myth to the myth of Valentinian or Manichaean Gnosticism and arrives, for example, at the drama in heaven of the Ismailian Gnosis. There is even reason to conceal but to emphasize the profound variance of the myth and with them those of the experienced situation. The fact remains that the cosmos, the astral region, with all its apparatus of power, will no longer constitute the totality of being. Even in Avicenna's cosmology, the angels or anime coalesces who move the spheres are also strangers who have entered the celestial accident. Just as the anime humanae are strangers exiled in the terrestrial Orient. Accident. So we have the planets who are chained to the rhythm of the cosmos, whose spirit are in the occidental of the celestial, and then we have us who are exiled in the terrestrial accident, or the accident of the terrestrial. The realm of light begins beyond where the apparatus of cosmic power ends. That means all the cosmic rotations, all the, like say if a planet could talk, and it was passing, and Mars was passing Venus by after I don't know how many years. They only have a certain amount of time to communicate with each other because they have to keep moving. They have to keep it moving, K-I-M, because they are chained to the rhythm, right? Chained to the rhythm. So, let me see. Hence, all this edifice is there to announce and denounce his captivity to the human being, to stimulate him to awaken to consciousness of his origin. Okay. The magnificent dome becomes a cage, a prison from which he must escape. The cosmic frontier of the celestial spheres is no longer experienced as unifying from within outward, but as constituting an increasing burden from without inward. Excuse me. Think about the zodiac, think about astrology, and how we have this astrology that we are bound to, like we are Aries, we are Pisces, we are fireheads, we are water beings, and all this shit, because we are born under these signs. And when Mars is in conjunction with Mercury retrograding, then all hell breaks loose within your psyche and shit like that. That means that's letting you know that not only are you bound to the way of the planets are bound to the way of your emotions, because shit, you can't change them and they can't change you. But they change in you. That's the thing about the word chain and change. They change in you, right? But it's due to an effect of a cycle. You see what I'm saying? Which is unchanging. The slightest change occurs, and which was very important to the ancient astrologies and priests, called the precession of the equinoxes. And that's why all of this shit exists today. These mythologies and things like that, to an extent. You feel me? Read the book, The Hamlet's Mill. Read the book, Fingerprints of the Gods. All the mythologies connect. You see what I'm saying? And this connection has been externalized into these major religions that have controlled your minds and your souls in this occidental reality. Therefore, you have occidental religions. If you want to be a part of a religion, you shouldn't be a part of these man-made structures and ideal religions. You can create your own. And this is what Surawardi did actually. You know what I mean? Not saying he didn't use some sources, but he basically created his own. And it's not that he created his own. It's basically, listen, it's like when you go into the mythology, you understand, like especially Hamlet's Mill. Everything is dealing with particular things all around in all different cultures. All right, there's a book called The Small Creation Myths Around the World or something like that. I have the book. And it tells you about all these creation myths, man. And they all connect. They all got similar things happening. It's so amazing. You see what I'm saying? And it's all has to do with the human soul and this God of control and all that shit, right? But anyway, so under this bird, this is dealing with the archons and the demiurge, okay, in another aspect. Under this burden of a foreign life agonizes, and the sense of being a stranger is certainly the dominant feeling in every Gnostic, the feeling that gives his consciousness its power of exaltation. There was I, sole and solitary, a stranger to the dwellers at the inn. The inn must represent the earth. Let's see here. And these notes are very important, but I can't get into those right now. Surawardi, the reciter of the recital of Occidental Exile, will find himself cast into the bottom of a dark pit. The prisoner of the Abyssinian recital of the bird will cry out his distress. There's the order of the fucking recitals. You know what I mean? The same dominant estrangement, the feeling of not belonging here, of being an allogene, if that's how you say it. It is by awakening to the feeling of being a stranger that the Gnostic's soul discovers where it is and at the same time forebodes whence it comes and whither it returns. As Surawardi says in his Risalat al-Abraj, Epistle of the Towers, the idea, and think of the towers of each human being, the towers of your spinal column, the spinal column connected to your endocrine glands and the likes, your ganglia, and these are connected to your 7 chakras. And think about the 7 windows, which reference the 7 stories of the Tower of Babel. Okay. Let me see. In certain aspects, okay, what you can say is that within the Tower of Babel there are 7 windows. The idea of return implies a previous presence, a pre-existence in the country of origin. For woe unto thee, if by the country thou meanest Damascus, Baghdad, or any other city of this world. That's something that Surawardi was talking about in one of his books. This motif of return presents 2 implications. In the first place, the feeling of a kinship with the divinity, with celestial beings, forms of light and beauty, which for the Gnostics are his true family. In the second place, and in consequence, the soul, which thus at last finds itself, experiences itself as exiled, terrified, and disoriented by and among the common norms, which assign to human beings reasons for existence and goals that are completely strange to its true condition of stranger. For the very idea of celestial origin and kinship, individually raising each soul that becomes conscious of it to a unique and privileged rank is intolerable to the world of common norms. All right, intolerable. Think about the Moors and how they deal with the sovereignty. You know what I mean? The sovereign brotherhoodship, right? Which goes back to this. All right, it's not literal in the physical reality, man. We spiritual beings, so that's it. This physical shit ain't ours. All right, you living here, you dying here. You can leave what you want to leave here. That's coming from you, but that's the only thing that you can leave here. You see what I'm saying? And then we dealing with the memories again, right? We're gonna have to do a part 2. I'm gonna stop right here. It's about to be 30 minutes, right? We're dealing with the stranger in the cosmos, which is the soul and the physical body that is waking up into its higher consciousness and is trying to figure out what the hell he is. All right, this is Rhythm Phoenix. Ashe.